Good afternoon, everyone. Going to try something a little different with my talk. I think you've had a lot of technical talks the last 2 days, and I could kind of tell you all sorts of like fun statistics and that kind of thing about Flutter, but I'm going to let a few other people tell their stories this time. Okay. Is that better?
Yeah.
Yeah, so basically I'm going to let other people tell their stories instead of me telling you their stories. But obviously, yeah, since I'm a human too, I'll tell you a little bit about me as well. I'm Mike, obviously. I'm a staff software engineer at Flutterflow. I'm more of a traditional back-end developer. Don't really do front-end. And previously you might have known me from Invitays, where I was founder and CTO. I built a couple of things there. Mainly developer tooling, things like Melos, Flutterfire, Zap, Globe, etc. Before I get started, I wanted to kind of see or try and work out who's the newest person here to Flutter. So I guess I'll go backwards. So who's been using Flutter for less than a year? Wow, experts, great. Okay, less than 2 years? Wow, only one hand. Well, this is for you. Welcome. Do that. Yeah, so we usually talk about kind of like technical achievements with Flutter, but kind of one thing that's not really talked about is how it's not just about the technology, it's about the people in the Flutter ecosystem, it's about the community, and it's about the lives that have been changed across all the continents all around the world. We can cover some numbers. So, you know, there's 1 million or more than 1 million active Flutter developers, according to Google. More than 90,000 of those actively participate in community events, such as this conference today. And it's in over 60 countries, which is quite international. But what these numbers don't really represent is the kind of individual human stories behind these developers. So stories where perhaps developers chose Flutter because of more than just the technology. Maybe they found, you know, a community or a better way to build things. And to kind of get into that, we kind of have to understand why Flutter exists. So I guess we could start with the first person we're going to speak to, and it's kind of someone who was there at the very beginning of Flutter. So let's hear from him.
So what was my biggest frustration before Flutter? I worked on the web for like a decade of my life, and we didn't really want to start Flutter. That wasn't our intention. We just wanted to let people stop running everything twice, including on mobile, and the web just wasn't good enough. And we tried for a very long time to make it good enough. So I guess that was my biggest frustration, is that we couldn't make the web good enough, and we had to build Flutter.
That frustration Eric talked about is kind of...
So what was my biggest frustration before Flutter?
About the web not being good enough and having to build something to kind of do cross-platform development. These kind of frustrations led to the birth of Flutter, as he stated, and kind of from those frustrations in early 2018, we had Flutter version 1 release. And then, you know, from there, the growth of all these Flutter meetups and conferences, they all start to appear globally. And then, yeah, in 2021, we get to the stage where Flutter now has web and desktop support. And kind of at this point, we're kind of seeing that 39% of all cross-platform developers are using Flutter. So quite significant growth from something that's fairly new to almost 50% of adoption of cross-platform developers. And then we come to something like 2023, where the Flutter team, basically to signify like the global nature of Flutter, introduced Flutter Forward. Now, what was kind of different about this is, it's a conference that it wasn't in, Silicon Valley, it wasn't in London, but it was in Nairobi, Kenya. And I think the statement there was that that Flutter belongs to everyone and everywhere. And what we get to is basically now today, we're at 47% of all cross-platform developers are using Flutter. Not 50% yet, but soon. One of the examples of kind of Flutter's human-centered approach is, I don't know if you've heard of the Flutteristas. They are basically these folks. They've established basically a culture for, zero tolerance of harassment, a culture where support and for like personal and career growth is maximized. And again, I could tell you what I think they mean and what they're trying to do, but we could hear from someone who's actively involved with the Flutteristas and what it's meant to them.
Hi, I'm Danielle Bax, and I've been a Flutter developer for about 5.5 years now, and it's really changed my life. The biggest thing for me has been the community. It's been like I'm part of a group called the Flutteristas, which has been different than any other tech I've ever been involved in. And it's for helping empower lemons and binary people with Flutter. I have spoken on 3 different cosmos with Flutter. It's taken me places I never would have gone. My closest friends now are all people I've met because of Flutter. And like, for example, I've gone to Istanbul and had dinner with 3 friends, things like that. So this has all been amazing. But I would say that none of this would matter if the technology is bad. Well, the technology has been amazing. It's helped me achieve the jobs I need to do with a lot less friction than I would have otherwise. And because of all of that, it really lets the community shine through. And if I need help, I can help. If they need help, I can help. If I share with people, I talk to like that Google developer, student club, they call them, things like that, and it's just really changed my life.
So as Danielle's kind of mentioned there, it's taken her to 3 continents around the world, and one thing to notice what she said there is it's not just about the technology being good, it's also how it's kind of enabled the community to shine. And I think kind of a key takeaway from that is, if you remove the friction from development, you do kind of create this space for people to connect and collaborate and potentially build something magical. We kind of also mentioned earlier, that Flutter potentially changes lives. And I guess, what does that really mean? Again, I could give you like statistics on career transitions, salary increases, but again, let's hear from someone who Flutter has changed their life.
I'm Renuka Kekar. I'm a Flutter GD, and the journey become a Flutter GD is so much emotional. Flutter changed my life. I used to be a housewife. Flutter make me a developer. I would like to thank you to the Flutter and Flutter team who helps me to grow in the developer community. I'm so proud I am a part of the very much helpful Flutter community.
Yeah, so, housewife to Flutter GD, there's kind of like 4 words that kind of represent quite a profound transformation. And what kind of makes Flutter special is it's accessible to even non-traditional developers or career paths. And again, the whole community around that actively welcoming them, mentoring them, and even celebrating their success. And I guess, this is kind of what inclusion looks like in practice. Genuine transformation powered by Flutter. We've mentioned the global impact of Flutter, but it doesn't really happen overnight. It kind of takes, really passionate people building local communities. For example, here in Japan, we have the regional Flutter Tokyo community, or even, the organizers of this conference. Thank you. Flutter Ninjas. And these communities are what builds this global presence. I have a video from a community builder in Nigeria that I would like to share with you.
Before getting involved with the Flutter community, I was mostly building in isolation, just writing codes, shipping apps, and repeating the cycle. Finding the Flutter community changed everything for me. I discovered a purpose that went beyond the computer screen. It started small in 2021. I wanted to help a few of my friends and some other beginners here in Nigeria get started with Flutter. That small group grew into what we call the Flutter Byte community today. And the community has organized the African largest Flutter conference. Through the journey, I have grown in ways I have never expected, not just in coding, but as a leader, a mentor, and as a person. Flutter didn't just give me a framework to build apps, it gave me a community, and that community helped me discover who I really want to be.
Yeah, so, from a small group of friends, Jamie turning that into kind of the largest African Flutter conference, which I was thankful to have attended in Nigeria a few years back. And building this kind of community kind of takes, strong leadership and vision. And this kind of community building is just happening in every region where Flutter is, even here in Japan. One other thing with Flutter is it kind of promotes this culture of sharing things. It's not just sharing code, we kind of also mean sharing experiences, sharing knowledge, and things like vulnerabilities even. One of quite a prolific maintainer of the Flutter repo you might recognize had some words to share.
Hi, Mike. Thanks for this opportunity. I'm going to answer the last question. How has being part of the Flutter community changed you as a person? So here's my answer. When I joined the Flutter community, one of the first things I learned as a person is to share. Share what you're doing, what problems you're solving. Share it. There is always someone else who is facing similar problems. There is always someone else who has asked similar questions. You can learn by sharing. You can grow by sharing. So share whatever you're doing. You don't have to isolate yourself in the Flutter community. Even if you're working in a company, you can talk about a problem in a way like a solution way. Doesn't have to be public. And when you're learning in the beginning, ask questions. Even if you're experienced, ask questions, share what you're doing. So I learned this, and it helped me a lot to grow in my career as well as a person, to be open, to share with other people and talk to them. And Flutter community is friendly, and they will be able to help you and answer your question. You can teach them something, and they will teach you something, no matter your skill level. So don't be afraid to share.
Yeah, so, takeaway from there is clearly, if it loads, share whatever you're doing. Don't isolate yourself. And, that's kind of great advice from Taha, who, pillar of the Flutter community in terms of his contributions to Flutter itself. And clearly that's, been great advice for him. And, this culture of sharing has kind of created quite a vibrant ecosystem. So we have today, something like 55,000 pub packages on pub.dev, people writing code and sharing. obviously we have thousands of blogs, tutorials and videos, and we even have books. So earlier, we mentioned 55,000, pub dev packages, which was of 2024. And kind of every popular package out there today is someone who saw a problem and they decided to solve it. One of these people was Lucas. He was the maintainer of the Flame game engine. I'm not sure if anyone's used it. And I asked him the question, what is he most proud of? And here's what he's had to say.
Hello, Flutter Ninjas. I am Lucas Klingsbo, or Spydon online, and today I got the question: what's something you built with Flutter that made you genuinely proud or emotional when you finished it? And first I thought about Flame, because I'm one of the main maintainers there. But then I thought about the Flutter and Friends conference, which is built with Flutter. And I think just like the Flutter Ninjas organizers realize that the more you put into the Flutter community, the more you get back. And it's such an amazing feeling. So that is one of my proudest achievements. And another thing, if I manage to finish this off in time for the next Flutter and Friends conference, it's the name badge that everyone will carry around, built on e-ink display, and you can program it with Flutter with your phone and just display anything on there. That will be really cool, I think. And if I manage to finish that, I will be really proud. Have a great conference, folks.
Yeah, well, that's Lucas, pub package maintainer, conference organizer, and apparently e-ink builder. And why not, I guess. And it's people like Lucas that keep on building things with Flutter, keep on experimenting and pushing the boundaries. Also earlier we mentioned that content creation, such as tutorials, YouTube videos, and these other kinds of things are key to this ecosystem of education and growing in the Flutter community. I again reached out to one of these creators and again would like to share her story with you.
Hi everyone, I am Pooja Bhaumik and I have been part of this Flutter community since 2018. So you can do the math, it's been more than 6 years. And when Mike asked me this question that if Flutter were a person who helped you build your career, how or what would you thank them for? I guess I had so many things to say because it completely changed my career path. I was just an Android developer in the beginning and I was kind of frustrated with the framework, but Flutter came into the picture, and even though I was still working on Android, I felt like I was having an affair with Flutter by experimenting with this framework and seeing how much smoother and nicer the framework was compared to using Android for the same things. And at the same time, there was not a lot of content and tutorials or educational materials on Flutter. So I started creating them through blog posts. I started teaching through workshops to students as a student myself at that point of time. And I also started speaking at and meetups to talk more about Flutter. And I feel like I had so much of impact by just teaching people about Flutter, and this kind of makes my dream of becoming a teacher true, even though I love building apps and building products that could touch people's lives, and Flutter also made that possible. So I am thankful to Flutter for a lot of reasons, but these are the few ones. So thank you.
Yeah, and this is such a common story where people see gaps in their ecosystem of content and they go and create the content that they wish existed. So yeah, thank you, Pooja. So yeah, throughout this talk, we've kind of heard from all these incredible people in our community. And I just wanted to kind of quickly summarize with the 5 pieces of advice from them. So obviously from Taha earlier, he mentioned that we should share what we're doing, ask questions, don't work in isolation. From Jamu earlier, start small, help a few friends, and this kind of starting small eventually grows into something that impacts thousands of developers. From Pooja, who we just saw, is when you see gaps in resources, don't wait for someone else to fill them. Create what you wish existed. And from Danielle, the technology can be good, but it's the community that makes it shine. So invest in relationships in the community. And finally, from Lucas, the more you put into the community, the more you get back. Just building things that matter. And that's it. Thank you very much. All my social links.
Thank you so much. So any question or maybe comment? Oh no.
Hi, thank you for your talk. I think it's very interesting to see not just a tech talk, but also like the community aspect of Flutter. And what I wanted to ask is how you personally got into Flutter. You mentioned you were a back-end engineer before, but so...
Yeah, good question. Fun story, I got into Flutter because of React Native. Boo. Yeah, and so basically a few years ago I built a React Native library for Firebase, React Native Firebase, and then kind of looking at the Flutter ecosystem didn't see that something similar existed, so Flutterfire that we have today. And so yeah, just kind of started building out Flutterfire, and from there just kind of got into the Flutter ecosystem. Everyone was so welcoming, and I could see a clear need for something like Flutterfire to exist, and then just basically invested time on that.
Nice, thank you.
Anything else?
I noticed you said the number of developer increased, the percentage of developer in platform increased from what to what?
From 31% to 47% over the last 4 years.
Are those people who were cross-platform developer already, or those are like the
Already
new joiner?
cross-platform I pulled the statistics from one of the Flutter blog posts. It doesn't really specify whether they were before or not. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much for this motivational talk. Just I wonder, like, if when someone really learn Flutter, it's really changed his life, give him new skills. But always I'm curious for this kind of scenario. Some people learn this kind of skills, but maybe they didn't continue study at university before they don't graduated. Do you think like some company put like this kind of requirement? You should have a computer science certificate or studying at least at university and graduate from there. So what do you think for those people? What do you suggest for those people who already have skills in Flutter or anything, but they found this one kind of a blocker to get good job?
So is the question, have skills in Flutter but have found another opportunity to work in another field?
No, in same field. Like in Flutter, get opportunity in working in Flutter.
I see.
Because almost of company ask for graduation certificate.
Yeah, I can't help you with that. I never went to university. My personal opinion is I think it's not needed. Like if I was still having a company, it wouldn't be something I would look for when hiring, but like every company is different. So I can't really give a true consensus on whether you should go to university or not. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any more questions? Good. Okay, thank you so much. So let's give applause to Mike again.
Thank you.